Resentment is the silent killer of relationships. Couples therapy can heal those deep-seated wounds. Imagine resentment as a slow-growing vine, its tendrils winding around the heart of your relationship, choking out love and connection. Over time, those little hurts and disappointments accumulate, creating a seemingly impenetrable wall between partners. As an expert couples therapist trained in diverse therapeutic modalities, I've witnessed the transformative power of therapy in helping couples dismantle this wall and heal even the most entrenched resentment. In order to understand resentment's roots, I like to think about Stan Tatkin, the founder of Pact Couples Therapy, and how he describes resentment. He says, quote, "The feeling of displeasure or indignation at some act, remark, person, etc., regarded as causing injury or insult. It's the emotional residue of unresolved hurts and misunderstandings, often festering beneath the surface for years." There are many strategies for healing resentment, and I'll just cover a few. Through my training in various models of therapy, I've learned very effective strategies to address resentment and begin helping couples to foster healing. First, again, with PACT, or the psychobiological approach to couples therapy, this model really focuses on creating a secure, functioning relationship where both partners prioritize caring for each other and resolving conflicts swiftly. By shifting perspectives and prioritizing connection, past hurts can be reframed and resentment can subside. Using the Gottman method of couples therapy, which I'm certified in, we use this approach to really emphasize the importance of building what we call a positive emotional bank account, which also creates what we call a positive sentiment override, or rosy-colored glasses, which most of us had early on in a relationship, but can quickly turn negative when we're not knowing each other well, being there for each other, and showing each other that we appreciate and like each other. But it's through building this emotional bank account every day through small things often, and of course being there for each other in big ways, but those consistent acts of kindness, appreciation, support, all the love languages, by making regular deposits and turning towards each other, especially for what we call those bids for connection, couples can gradually rebuild trust and goodwill, even in the face of deep-seated resentment. And of course, in Gottman couples therapy, we also discuss the specific resentments, which usually come from, if you think about emotion-focused therapy and attachment model of relationships, there are moments in time in almost every couple's relationships when there have been attachment wounds, when one or both people have felt like the other person wasn't there for them in some way. And again, in Gottman method, we would call this some sort of bid for connection was turned against or turned away from. And so there was a feeling of betrayal or abandonment or hurt that needs to be healed. So we also teach how to actually talk about it without getting back into it, how to take responsibility for damage that you've done, even if it wasn't your intent, and learning how to forgive each other, especially for making mistakes and being human, and how to, show up for each other in the future so that you don't continue to pile on damage. Using the relational life therapy, which I also love, the founder, Terry Real, talks a lot about the difficulty for all of us humans in letting go of resentment. Even when your partner is making positive changes, it's just really hard. It's like maybe this is a little too late. And so oftentimes in couples therapy, even if one partner is really making some significant changes, we have to use what Terry calls the garbage bag strategy, which is encouraging a couple to temporarily, not forever, but temporarily put all their resentments into a metaphorical garbage bag and put it up on the shelf for a little while, not forever, while focusing really on strengthening their bond and creating more positivity and enjoyment of each other and creating a better relationship. And then he opens up the idea that once we've got a better relationship and a more secure bond, then we can take the garbage bag down off the shelf and start looking at each old resentment and going back to those past hurts. And usually when you're able to then do that, which oftentimes many couples don't even care to do once their relationship's better, but if you need to, going back to those past hurts, usually once the bond is better, we have greater compassion and understanding, and it's a little easier to make headway on healing those. And then finally, another form of therapy that I love that helps many couples heal resentments is called internal family systems model, or IFS. IFS really looks at resentment as something very protective. It's something that we all have, and when we hold on to our resentment, it protects us from further hurt. Using IFS, we can access all those various parts, including the resentful part, and learn how to heal that part of ourself that feels wounded, rejected, forgotten, betrayed, whatever the emotion is. And it allows us to then have greater vulnerability and openness in the relationship. It's a little scary to open up again, especially if you're afraid of getting hurt and rejected again, but really recognizing how protective that has been and being able to let that protector part of yourself step aside once you really talk to it more. That is part of healing resentment using IFS. In any good couples therapy, addressing resentment is usually in the cards for one or both partners. And if you're exploring, each other's family of origin issues, that's also usually essential, like learning where we learned to hold on to resentment too. Maybe there's old attachment wounds that really predate this relationship that have also created some cycles of negativity or some cycles of not communicating clearly or not doing something that needs to be happening in this relationship. Couples can really create an upward spiral of positive change that fosters those deeper connections and intimacy and helps them heal old resentments. I do recall some hope in a story of, one couple I worked with who had struggled for years with all of those resentments accumulating. They came to therapy really on the brink of separation, but, through using Gottman method techniques and some IFS and some Terry Real, they were really able to identify the root causes of their resentment. I was able to interrupt them a lot and gently bring their attention to some of the sabotaging things they were doing, whether it was defensiveness or criticism. And they weren't even able to talk about the past resentments because they kept piling more damage on and they kept jabbing at each other, and which is totally understandable when you've lost trust for each other and you don't really believe that the other person has your back, et cetera, et cetera. It's easy to kind of get caught in that attack defend mode. But once they were able to get some perspective and also were willing to let me really direct them, they were able to learn how to communicate their needs more effectively. They felt more emotionally connected because they were having more deep emotional sharing and emotional connections, and they weren't, again, piling on the damage. And as they rebuilt this emotional connection, which is the most essential part of any good couples therapy, they were able to really go back to past resentments and understand how deep those wounds cut, and were able to really feel for each other, to take responsibility for the damage. Again, even if it wasn't their intent, they would learn how to never do that again. And they made commitments to each other, and they set kind of expectations for what they wanted in the relationship again. And now, they really do describe their relationship as stronger and more fulfilling, and they feel lighter. They're not carrying around these resentments. So if you're struggling with resentment in your relationship, please don't let it fester and destroy your relationship. It's easy to do, to just stay guarded and to not believe that it can ever change, and to feel like this is just a heavy backpack that you're going to carry around forever. But it doesn't have to be like that. If both of you are willing to look at it and work on it, therapy really can be a safe and supportive space to explore complex emotions and create the kind of lasting change that is needed. You can visit us at counselingatl.com to learn more, or to approach couples therapy. Even if you're just considering it, you can also schedule a free 20-minute video consultation with any of our therapists, or you can sign up for our next couples workshop and just learn some of the basic Gottman techniques for better communication and conflict, and some of the ways to repair past resentments. So we're here to help you. If you have any questions, reach out to us. You deserve to have a love and a connection to each other that's free from resentment. Be well.